All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about the unsung hero of your home, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. I mean, it works tirelessly, right? But what you might not realize is that it's fighting a battle that is way tougher than you think. So why is that? Why is your specific neighborhood so hard on this one piece of equipment? Well, the answer isn't just about, setting the thermostat. There's this invisible battle going on every single day, and it's driven by factors you probably don't even see. For a lot of us, the main enemy here is just extreme weather. I mean, if you live in a place like the Lake Erie snowbelt, just think about it. One season, your system is dealing with insane amounts of snow and freezing temps. The next, it's thick, sticky, heavy humidity. It's working overtime constantly just to keep things normal inside. Okay, let's pull back the curtain on this whole invisible battle. We're going to dive into the things, both from the environment and even the way your house is built, that are just grinding down your home's most expensive piece of machinery. Just think about the physics for a second. Metal expands when it's hot, right? And it shrinks when it's freezing cold. Now imagine that happening over and over and over again, year after year. That constant cycle, man, it's brutal. It causes metal fatigue, and eventually you get cracks in really crucial parts, like the heat exchanger in your furnace. It's basically a slow-motion assault. And believe me, it is not just the weather. The age of your house, that's a huge one. So many homes built back in the 50s and 60s, their ductwork is just way too small for today's high-efficiency systems. Then you throw in other stuff, right? Like maybe you live near an airport. Those constant vibrations can literally shake connections loose. Or you've got an old electrical panel that's just struggling to keep up. It's just layers and layers of stress. So, with all that going on, how in the world are you supposed to know if your system is starting to lose the fight? Well, the good news is, it doesn't just die silently. No, it sends out some pretty clear distress signals. And if you learn how to read them, you can save yourself a ton of cash and a lot of headaches. Okay, these are the classics. You see a sudden spike in your energy bill? That means the system is struggling, working way harder to do the same old job. What about strange smells? Could be mold, could be an electrical problem. And listen for weird noises. Then there's this thing called short cycling. That's when the unit just turns on and off, constantly. That is a massive red flag. Seriously, if you spot any of these, your HVAC is basically screaming for help. Okay, this number, 30%. This points to one of the biggest, sneakiest problems out there. In older houses, up to 30% of the air that you're paying a fortune to heat or cool, it just leaks out of bad ductwork before it even gets to you. That's like taking a third of your energy bill and just setting it on fire. All right, so you've seen the signs, you've made the call for help. What should a professional service call actually look like? It really shouldn't be some big mystery. Look, any good pro is going to follow a really clear process. First, they diagnose. They use their tools to find the root cause, not just patch up a symptom. Then, once you've seen the price and said, okay, they do their repair. And finally, and this part is so important, they test the whole system. They run it through a full cycle to make absolutely sure the fix worked and everything's back to peak performance. And there are some dead giveaways of a real pro. These aren't just like nice little extras, they're signs of quality. A great tech will literally show you the broken part. They'll explain what's wrong in plain English, no jargon. They'll give you a firm price before they start working. And yeah, the little things like wearing shoe covers, that just shows they respect your home. Okay, so this all leads us to the biggest, toughest question that pretty much every homeowner has to face eventually. Do you repair it again? Or is it finally time to replace the whole thing? Man, that decision can feel huge, right? You're trying to balance the short-term hit to your wallet with the long-term peace of mind. It can be overwhelming, but here's the good news. There's actually a pretty simple rule of thumb that can help you cut through the noise and make a smart choice. It's called the $5,000 rule, and it's a great way to take the emotion out of it and just look at the math. Here's how it works. You take the age of your unit, and you multiply it by the cost of the repair. So for example, let's say you've got a 15-year-old furnace, and it needs a $400 repair. You multiply 15 by 400, you get $6,000. Since that number is over the $5,000 mark, it's a really strong signal that pouring more cash into this old machine is probably a bad investment. Replacement is likely the smarter financial move. And when you look at the typical costs, that $5,000 rule makes a lot of sense. A minor repair, a few $100, that's one thing. But when you start getting into major repairs that cost $1,000, $2,000, or even more, you can see how fast you start creeping up on the price of a brand new, super efficient system that, by the way, comes with a warranty. Okay, this is so important. Whether you end up repairing or replacing, the work has to be, built on a foundation of technical skill and safety standards that you just can't compromise on. First up is something called Manual J. Think of it as the blueprint. It's a specific calculation that any good contractor does to figure out the exact heating and cooling power your home needs. This is how you make sure the new system isn't too big, which just wastes energy, or too small, which means it'll never keep you comfortable. Then you've got EPA Section 608. This is a big federal rule about how techs have to handle refrigerants. Yeah, it's about protecting the environment, which is great, but for you, it also means your system gets charged with the exact right amount of refrigerant. That's key for it to run efficiently and at its best. And if you have a gas furnace, this one is the most important of all, the National Fuel Gas Code. This is the safety rulebook. It lays out exactly how a furnace needs to be installed and vented to make sure that dangerous gases, we're talking carbon monoxide, get safely outside your house and stay out. So let's be super clear. These codes and rules, they aren't just red tape. They are literally life-saving regulations designed to protect your family. Any contractor who cuts corners on these is putting you in real danger. Period. So after all that, knowing what your HVAC system is up against day in and day out, what's the one simple thing you can do, like today, to help it win that fight? It's actually really, really simple. Basic maintenance. Seriously, something as easy as changing your air filter regularly can make a world of difference. It stops dust from clogging everything up, which keeps the air flowing and stops the system from overworking itself. It's the absolute easiest way to keep those small problems we talked about from blowing up into a huge, expensive emergency in the middle of a cold snap.